Ahoy! This is the Neo-Anarchist Vidcast, or video feed, or video show, or whatever. I'm gonna assume that you found your way here to learn more about the shadows of the sixth world. You may or may not be a Shadowrunner, and good for you, chummer. Becoming a Shadowrunner, as often as not, means unplugging from the rat trap that the corpse, the nations, the dragons, and every other larger-than-life piece of dreck in the world tries to catch you in. I know. Sometimes you work for those same pieces of dreck, but don't think of it as a betrayal of your ideals. Think of it as subversive action, using the resources of the rich and powerful to hurt those same rich and powerful. Kinda like Robin Hood. Exactly like Robin Hood. Just make sure that you're on the right side of everything when it all comes crashing down. Scan me? But you're here for data, and I've got what you want. There's a reason that this so-called sixth world is as it is, and that reason is history. Everything that you runners are facing now is a direct result of the dreck that came before it, and the dreck that came before that, and the dreck that came before that. You'd be surprised how much something that happened 6,000 years ago affects life in Seattle or Chicago or DC or wherever you happen to lay your head down, little crow. Now I'll skip the lengthy bio for now, but just for this duration, call me Opti. I know, not a very intimidating name for a neo-anarchist Shadowrunner, but in the immortal words of Johnny Banger, I do what I want, and I didn't ask for your opinion. As for the why I'm telling you this, well, the bottom line is that the more of us there are, the better it is for all of us. In this world, it is sure as dreck the case that the more unaltered truth you consume, the more like me you become. Either that, or you end up putting a round in your melon just to get off this involuntary joyride, because if you can't be the hope for someone, there isn't much hope to be found. So, I hope you don't off yourself. Information is power, and I'm about to lay a bunch on you. So grab some soy cap. I'm gonna make you a believer. Late in the 20th century, 1999, there was this labor union in the old US of A called the Teamsters. They had government contracts and were heavily involved in transport of goods and services all over the country. Well, early in the year, the Teamsters and the good old US of A couldn't agree on terms, so the Teamsters went on strike. This meant that the goods and services formerly moved by the Teamsters weren't getting moved. And guess what? Folks in a small little town called New York all of a sudden had a big food shortage on their hands. I know, this doesn't seem that important to your life right now, but it is, and it's going somewhere. Bear with me. The next month, in Canada, the Dene tribe of Native Americans were fragged by the Canadian government when their long-standing land claim was suddenly rejected because apparently installing a super profitable gas pipeline was more important than the history and lives of an entire people group. Thankfully, that stuff never happens these days, but back then it was a problem. The Dene had to leave, and while it may not have seemed like big dreck at the time, it had profound implications. Now, there was this medical company called Seretech. Remember that food shortage in New York? Well, in April of '99, a Seretech medical research rig was doing its biz in the Big Apple, hauling off toxic waste out of town. The city had been dreck out of food for months, and whatever the reason was, the rioting mobs figured that the Seretech truck was just a front for hauling food from the city. So the mobs attacked it. The Seretech security forces fought back the mobs and ended up back at the Seretech research facility. After all was said and done, it was truly a holy scene. You know, because the mob had a bunch of holes in them, the Seretech opened fire. Killed them. It was a slaughter. Holy. A few weeks later, city, state, and national charges were brought up on Seretech for criminal negligence because of the bloodbath. Seretech defended itself by claiming that they were saving the lives of thousands more citizens by not allowing the contents of the waste truck to get out. On October 26th, the United States Supreme Court ruled on the Seretech case. In this landmark, United States versus Seretech Corporation, the court ruled in Seretech's favor, stating that corporations have the right to maintain an armed force to protect its employees and assets. Now, if you can't see how corporations being able to legally hire and maintain their own private armies affects what you Shadowrunners do, don't worry, that will likely be your first lesson, and you'll learn it facing the barrel of a CorpSec rifle. That's how it begins, little crows. Few million in bribes, and one little decision later, and the whole world changed. They just didn't scan it. Well, enough about Seretech in 1999. Scan you on the next round of the Neo-Anarchist video showcast thing. And here you are, still around. In closing, I want to give a handsome load of thanks to our Patreon supporters for making the stuff we do possible. You're the best runners in the whole wide sixth world. And I hate to self-promote, but maybe your wage slave job has been good to you and you want to spread the word and help out burgeoning revolutionaries. Well, if that's you, head to www.patreon.com/Neo-Anarchist Podcast, all one word. And support us monthly to keep the lights and the matrix on around here. There's some cool wearable dreck too that you can grab by supporting us as well. If you want to listen to stories about old Opti when he was a young Shadowrunner in Seattle in the 2050s, you can listen to Shadowrun Origins. It's a podcast. It's what the cool kids call an actual play. I hope you hate it. Music serving as the background to Audible Anarchy was written by the legend Marshall Parker, reimagined by Unanium 88. Friends, I don't want any of you to think that history is the most important thing. Make no mistake, it's one of my favorite things, and it is important. But the most important thing is caring about your people. That can take many forms, and might not all agree on the best ways to do that, but that's what has to come first. And if you don't have people to care about you, then you should know that you're cared about by this guy. It's because you're amazing, just the way you are. Now, we just gotta get that capitalism out of your system. This was the Neo-Anarchist Vidcast, and I was your host, Opti. Enjoy your freedom.